is because he's looking at me. But remember, he wasn't going to talk to me until they told him who I was. That was just his curiosity. So he was letting me know it wasn't anything personal to me because he was a really nice guy. But it was the fact that he was prior Air Force and he wanted to know that they weren't tricking him and going to try to put him in Leavenworth. So I got it. He wasn't saying it, but he was saying it sort of to them. It was a multi-layered conversation. Because he and I were sort of stuck. We were like victims of this. We were being used by people that were more powerful because he was Air Force and I was Navy. So he knew I was Navy because they told him. So he was Air Force, I was Navy, and we were working on the same story, I guess, whatever the story of the Men in Black is. So they were the ones that controlled the narrative, whoever these people were. So he and I were talking like in front of them, like you stretch your ego, and then you drop your ego, and you have to not be scared and in fear and talk to each other. And then there's the intuitive empath way of looking at the body language and the eyes, like neuro-linguistic programming. And, CIA uses that, and they teach that, but so does NLP. But I got into all that later. But he was telling me on different levels. So what it was is he got the fact that he was supposed to reveal that he did take some of the pieces from the implosion in Roswell, and they were there to retrieve them. So he was very aware of that. So they were there to retrieve in the 70s what he had taken in the 40s, because that's why I was there. But he knew that Stanton Friedman was trying to write a book about it or something. So there was multi-layered. There was his story he wanted to tell. There was the government story. There's the Air Force story, I guess the Navy story, the CIA story, and then the Men in Black story. And so everybody's trying to put the story together like we are here. There's the Janet side, Karen side, and TJ side. And you try to put them all together and make sense of what's real. So that's when we started working at it. But it woke my brain up because I still stayed married for another 4 years. I didn't get divorced, but the voice would come to me and say, when are you coming? The ET voice, not hearing voices like I'm psychopath, but this knowingness would say, you've got to come back. So it wasn't until 1980 that I went back out again and worked with extraterrestrials in Rochester, New York, and Denver, Colorado, and all of that. But during that time, I always thought about Jesse, but I didn't meet Stanton Friedman ever, but his name comes back into my life in 2006. And so he sent me books to keep with his name in it. And he and I were talking about books and writing books and talking long distance. And it would run up like an $85 bill for 45 minutes to an hour for me back then. And I couldn't really afford it. But so I didn't have that many after, I got my phone bills. But I figured out that Stant was an important player in something the government wanted to know, and that Jesse was. But I didn't put it together and really until I got the call from Strom Thurmond. And Strom Thurmond, I was going to University of Alabama, and he wanted me to come to Washington, D.C., and it was based on, and I don't know the timelines yet, but it had something to do with Philip Corso and UFOs. He asked me, I'll never forget, he asked me what I knew about UFOs or flying saucers. Like, it was like I talked to him every day. Or like, I was like, what? Because he had called me a couple of times before. So that was one of my security questions on my polygraphs when I went to Tyson Corners in Langley. They wanted to know how I knew Strom Thurmond. I said, I don't know, just through family, I guess, because he was doing genealogy back then and tracked me down. But then he wanted me to come and he wanted me to work on.
Your name is Thurmond.
Yeah. And
in case the listeners don't know, your maiden name is Thurmond.
Yeah, but nobody can help the color of their skin or the name they're born into. That, because people, it's part of who I am. But yeah, I was born. My father's name was Thurmond, and we came from the Ripley Charles Faulkner. My grandfather, great-grandfather, started the railroad with Charles Faulkner. It's a real big thing in Ripley, Mississippi, and then they tracked it down, and it's all complicated because we're all related to different people. But yeah, so there's
Okay.
something to
well,
me.
You're out of
all
time,
right.
so remember that.
Okay, I'm out of time.
Remember that.
All right.
We're going to start with Karen. Okay, your turn, Karen.
Okay.
Take it away.
Well, I don't know what to talk about, really.
Why we all have a name, I guess.
About
yeah, anything.
About your story. It's really, I agree with Janet. It's fantastic, and I see a movie the whole time it's being told. I think there are other stories out there. There's other people, and I have been amazed at how many pings that I've been getting ever since we've been talking tonight. I mean, I couldn't stop them. I tried to get over there, and I couldn't stop them. And so that is, to me, a sign and a symbol that we're not alone. And I am getting that there are some other people who are not from this planet who are accompanying us and very happy with you, TJ, and Janet, and the fact that we're doing that, but they really are like applauding your story and what you're doing. And so that takes a lot for you to go out there. I know how you're feeling. I'm reading your feelings as you're doing it, and I think you're doing a brilliant job. I think that all of this is going to help a lot of people come up and to ask a lot of questions, seek more synchronicities. There is a fear of a virus fear, a fear of everything that is passing in the wind to people who are experiencing change, and there are a lot of people who don't like to make change. And so there's a gentle thing about knowing more information about all of this that can really help people be calm and know that everybody has the ability to go to a certain level of consciousness through meditation. I teach this. This is what I do. And I'm a recording artist, and I do this. I have a recording studio in my home, and this is what I do. I work with sound, and I teach people how to get to deeper levels of consciousness to where they can start to visualize what they want or what they want to become to an awareness that they are the creator of what they're making happen. And then as they get a return of a symbol or a sign or something, then it makes the power, their individual power, come out even stronger. And I think that this is what you were talking about, that the ETs were in communication with Jesse Marcel. Is that right, TJ? Is that the communication with extraterrestrial and altered states of consciousness?
Well, if I can answer real quick, I've got these signs that bug me that I got on the wall that nobody can explain, and I want to know how they can do that, because it's not been addressed in any form of people getting these signs on the wall in gold light. And I have things that happen to me, but I don't know how to express it, and I don't know how to say it. So I think, Karen, that's why Preston Nichols and your name came up, was because I really feel like when you came on, you were going to help me learn how to talk. That sounds weird, but go ahead. Back to you.
But there are no words in a lot of ways, and there are no words at the third dimension, the third 3D, the earth plane. The words are not evolved enough in sound to do that. So they use sound and they use feeling. It's a total right brain thing. It's not, there aren't words. There never are. It's an awareness. Because even us, as much as we've experienced this and done this, we have to struggle to find the words to use for the people. So I'm open. Ask me anything. Look at what's happened since we've been on the phone with all these pings. This never happens. It really doesn't. And you have to take it, even something that simple, and realize that you had a signal. And we all get them. But in synchronicities, numbers, and people do that. So I hope that helps a little bit. And it goes much deeper than that. And sometimes you have to realize that you are getting this and not worry about the words to say it. That send it out through your solar plexus region, and the force will make it understood. It will provide a film to the person you're trying to communicate with through their mind. I'm sorry, I know I'm up.
Time. Okay. That's okay.
I just wanted to ask her one thing. Did that
Go
help
ahead, ask
you?
one more thing.
Did that help you anyway, TJ? Mind me explaining
Well, it put a Band-Aid on it. It put a Band-Aid on it for right now, because I was envisioning those symbols on the wall, the pyramid and the infinity sign and these other things, and it seemed like you were trying to tell me it was okay that I don't understand yet, but I'm getting that somehow it'll all work out. I just don't want to be.
You understand.
It will work out.
I think
I don't want to fail
though.
at whatever I'm supposed to do. I'm hoping
no,
so.
You're
it feels
not.
a little better. It feels a little better.
You are understanding it. Remember the two little girls? You've got to trust that you do.
Yeah,
and when you trust, you do.
Yeah, that's a YouTube. Mm-hmm.
It's a YouTube. It's two little ETs talking about going to Earth.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen
you.
that yet. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cute.
And Janet, I sent you some pictures on Skype. Okay, because Skype's the only way I could get through to Janet, too.
I'm going to start. Right.
All right,
so
my Janet, set your time.
Let me go. Okay. I'm done. No. Okay, so at some point we're going to weave all three of our stories together, because we're all extraterrestrial contactees. So all this time, while things were happening for TJ, and I would like to try to get the time, but we might not know the times, but we kind of can know in what sequence things unfolded. But, I was a contactee experiencer since the crib, so's TJ. We've both had experiences under age 10 with extraterrestrials. She had a experience where she went to White Sands, and her family was involved in the government, Thurman, and with NASA, and your uncle was at White Sands. So, and my family was involved with the Masons, with the Masonic Lodge, and they were. What I pieced together, it's interesting when you weave the stories together, how we know each other. We actually might know each other from previous generations, because Sasha and I have been talking, and we realized that our parents, our grandparents and parents, probably grandparent level, knew each other because they were involved in these establishment of he did the filmmakers union, and then my husband's Sasha's family was in the unions, and they were in New York and Pennsylvania, and they were both in the movie theater business. So, they knew each other because they used to travel back and forth and set up the projectors and set up the theater. So we went, my God, your grandfather knew mine. So this is what we're piecing together, synchronicity. So TJ and I finally met in 1993. We crossed over for 1 year when she was in Oahu and I was in Oahu. And I went to Oahu in 93, October, and then she left. I'm not sure when she left, but it was in 94. So we had a brief exchange there, and then we keep finding each other. So we are traveling in the same UFO circles, but our story has interactions with each other, to this day. So with that in mind, what we're doing these first parts, we're getting TJ's story as it unfolds from her subconscious, because there's important things like that ability of Jesse Marcel, that didn't come out before. This is the first time we're getting, you were communicating not just with, mouth and vocal cords, but telepathically. And there are not very many humans that are aware that they can speak telepathically, nor do they have the control that they can do it all the time. So that is an important piece of information. So I'm going to yield the balance of my time. I'm going to encourage TJ to try to, when you start getting confused, I will interject, and let's try to talk just one person at a time, because that makes a loud cacophony of strange noise to our listeners, and they can't really make out what we're saying. So let's just be aware, one person at a time. If we do ask TJ a question, realize that you're, yielding that part of your time. So